Hey everybody, it's Doom here from Dungeon Doom Biscuit. And I'm going to paint up one of the new DungeonSwag minis. This sick little dwarf. His name is Angus Stoutfoot. And he is a hill dwarf. And he comes from a land, or I should say a clan, that is minimalist. They're very military and minimalist. So he travels light, he sleeps in the dirt, he cleans himself the best he can with what resources are available, he eats whatever he can find, and he takes adventuring very seriously. So let's get started on Angus. Once I find a brush. Damn it, Chris. Alright. So I'm going to shake up this Crusader skin and get started. And I hope that I left his undertone just dark enough that it's going to make him look kind of grimy, and I didn't want to make him too light. Don't drink the water. Don't drink the water. Sometimes when you're doing really small areas like hands and stuff with the speed paints, you got to kind of come back and hit them again too. Seems like I struggle with coverage at times. Now I know I want to use some darker colors in his apparel. So I'm going to use this dark wood, I think, or what's it called? Satchel brown, maybe? Satchel brown. I'm going to do his pants with that, and I don't know what else. Probably his belt. Looking good, Angus. Thank you. I appreciate it. Looks, he's even responding. He's lifelike. So, Angus never set out to be an adventurer. He wanted to be a smith. And being a smith in his clan was a pretty difficult profession to get into because they only took so many apprentices a year. So for poor Angus to want to be a smith, he had to find a way to set himself apart. And there were rumors of shards of metal that would fall from the sky, these meteors, and that they had a metal in them that was unlike anything else. So he thought if he could get some of that metal, he could use it to trade to break in as a smith. Somebody would want to train him, you know. And after a few years, he realized it wasn't just laying all over the place, and he kind of got involved with adventurers and did some minor kill rat stuff around small towns and stuff. Decided he kind of missed being with the dwarves, but at the same time he enjoyed living among the other races of people. And just kind of became part of the world and never went back to the Copper Hills where he was from. The last name Stoutfoot is actually not the clan name. The Stoutfoot name is his individual family name, and they are a lesser noble family in the clan. So he had no guarantees of a good position or job if he stayed there, and if he wasn't going to be a smith, he was going to end up as a generic guard or some kind of laborer that he didn't want to be. So going back wasn't even, a priority at that point. Alright, we need some boot color now. Boot color now. Hardened leather. I want that sand golem. Where you at, sand golem? Sand golem. Got it. We'll shake the sand golem up. A lot of dwarf miniatures always bother me because they're so overly detailed. And maybe for mountain dwarves and like some of the more uppity dwarves, like gold dwarves, like mountain dwarves. Yeah. And maybe for like Durgar. It's a little more justified. When it comes to the hill dwarves, I've always felt like they should be very minimalist. That's just me. What do I know? One of the things I like about this sand golem is it has like a hot tone to it. So for like beat up leather and used leather, it doesn't take a whole lot of steps to get it looking kind of but you see like that satchel color I used on his pants and stuff, that's got like a cooler tone. And even if you're careful with it, when you're doing it and using it thin, it kind of looks like a sturdy, good leather product that doesn't get much wear. So you got to come back in with some dry brushing and stuff to kind of get it where you need it. Now, for his beard, I want to do an orange color. So I'm going to get my Nuclear Sunrise, and I'm going to be real sparing with it and keep it thin. So I'm going to just drag out just the smallest amount of it down here to play with for now. And I'm going to slowly plunk it in there. Don't drink the water. Don't drink the water. You see I'm just taking my time, and I usually rush on minis. But I want his beard to be a certain tone of orange. And I don't want to go over the top, so instead of using a darker orange or going too thick and getting really deep, wet looking results, I'm just taking my time. To get it where I want it. And that looks kind of like what I want. Now I'm going to do his armor. And I'm going to do his armor in speed paint. This is called Broadsword Silver. I don't know why I'm shaking it by hand. So Angus has a little bit of a dark side. His clan's very old, and he's even, one generation removed, where his grandfather actually fought in the Orc Wars when the Orcish horde traveled across the world trying to take over everything. So he's only one generation removed from that. Just his father between that. His grandfather would tell him stories when he was young about the glory of fighting the orcs. Angus secretly hopes, and he didn't until he became an adventurer, like when he wanted to be a smith like his father, this never crossed his mind. But as time went on and he started adventuring, he secretly hopes that something like the Orc Wars would break out to where he could become a hero of legend and song like his grandfather and his grandfather's friends. Somebody that even people from other races are familiar with the stories of their heroics. He kind of desires to walk into a human town and be celebrated as a returning hero, or as a victorious veteran instead of some dwarf who's just looking for a coin for the next job, So that puts him in a weird position where this dark side, it shows when he's in combat. And it's not even so much as like a rage or an anger. It's more like a ferocity of desperation, of him longing to be like the heroes of old and to fill his family's legacy, his greatness. Which you would think that's strange, being that he doesn't even want to live among his people. But maybe he's conflicted because living among his people doesn't work for him, so he feels some guilt about that. And maybe that guilt drives him to crave more. It's really hard to say. Any character can have layers and layers of depth. I'm going to be including some stories of some of the heroes we're working on here for your reading pleasure on the website. And obviously you can name them whatever you want and use any backstory for them you want. Or you can paint them up and use them as NPCs, you know, as I made them, as I talk about them. You know, maybe Angus finally did get a forge going and become a craftsman. Maybe among the human people his work was good enough without any formal training that in a small town he's the dude. He's the guy that gets weapons. Or maybe he found an ancient tome on one of his adventures and taught him how to do rune crafting or something crazy like that, to where he's the guy. Maybe he needs more meteor metal. Maybe he found something and got his start on his own. Now he needs more meteor metal and he's looking for help. Maybe your group is the one who can help. Or maybe he got into being the head of a mercenary guild that does security for merchant convoys. That'd be neat, right? This color is called Desolate Brown, and it's more of a green. I'm going to use this on the handle of this weapon. Then I'm going to give that green tint to the flat, smooth sides of his helmet, even though they're already metallic. I'm just going to blend that over top and let it bleed a little bit. And I'm going to come over here on this weird layer of chain hood or whatever it is, and I'm just going to hit that with it too. It's subtle, but it's noticeable. Now I need a red to do some of those little weird things that are hanging off of them. And I sucked moisture out of the brush because I do not want over paint. I want to have a lot of control. And see that little bit of white on both sides? I'm going to leave that. I want that to create a definitive barrier, as if it's trimmed that way intentionally. Then I'm going to use that red on his buckle. I'm pretty happy with him. Do I need to get in there and do his eyes? Probably. I don't want to. My hands have been real shaky. If I mess this up, I'm going to feel terrible. I'm not going to bother doing irises though. All right. Now, over that red, using my small brush, I'm going to drag a little bit of that metallic onto that. Mute that up a little bit. Trying to maintain my white trim around the side, so I don't want to go all the way out. Then I need a very shiny silver and a little bit of a blue. For the blue, I'm going to use this runic gray, and I'm going to use some speed paint medium to thin this down, and I'm going to give his weapon a bit of a blue tone. So I have like a drop and a half of runic gray, and I'm going to use about a drop of speed paint medium. I'm going to mix that up, make it real thin, almost glassy. I'm going to get in here on the flat sides of his maul, just like that. I'm going to use a bright silver called Shining Silver. I'm going to do some of the banding around the maul in that bright silver. Okay. Then I'm going to do his little spike in that bright silver. I think I'm going to call that a win. Actually, there's one more thing I want to do in that silver. In his beard, there are tiny little rings. And I'm going to just hit those with that silver real quick. Alright. I lost my little straw that I used to cover my brush. Let's do the base. To do my base, getting a little bit of this dark brown from Walmart's and a little bit of water. I'm going to come in here, careful not to get it on his feet. I'm just using a crappy plastic bristle brush for this. More water. All right, something like that. We're going to air dry it with the hot air gun. Then we're going to get another brush and a lighter brown and do something to break that up and make it a little more exciting. Let's start with the air gun and dry that brown up. Where's my air gun? There it is. Okay. Then we're going to get that lighter brown. I'm just going to steal a little drop of that out of the lid. And drag that around on that cardstock and get rid of some of it. And we're just going to kind of break up the ground with that. Just like that. We're going to get black. And with a damp brush, we're going to go around and do the edging everywhere where I don't have any of the 3D raised texture, and create that barrier between fantasy and reality. If you see it starting to streak or anything, just grab yourself a little bit more water and get back to her. Go around the outside, around the outside, around the outside. Just like that. And then sometimes, I don't notice until after they're clear coated and upstairs, I somehow missed the edge of the base a little bit in spots, so I'm just going to go back and make sure I didn't. let's hit him with the air gun, and then we'll do some flock, and then we'll be done. All right, Angus. Let's flock you up. So the first thing I want to do for a flock is I want to get a little bit of clear glue. Mine's from the Dollar Tree. And I'm going to get a toothpick. And I'm just going to drag some around on the base in an irregular pattern. Just like that. I'm pretty happy with him. There's Angus Stoutfoot, Dwarven Adventurer Extraordinaire. Possibly a mercenary or a sidekick of some sort, or a quest giver, or just a casual that has made an impact in the local area they're at. Thanks for watching. Please like, subscribe, share, hit the notification bell icon, leave a comment, and I will see you next time.